What up, my good people? We're back at it again. Welcome into another edition of the Talking Ball podcast with my boy Big L Train in the building. We got a college football to talk about. We got freaking hurricanes coming. We got cell phone edition still going. We got
Volume
craziness
two
going
of the cell
on.
phone edition.
Yeah, I couldn't get into IT because work's been crazy. Um, got to batten down the hatches and figure out what the heck's going on with this storm coming in less than 24 to 48 hours. So. Um, let's hammer this thing out. I had to hammer the high school podcast out with Justin. There's no high school football this week, basically. So it's just a lot of chaos and craziness. Uh, really worried about the people down in Tampa in that area. I'm worried about DF's house down there in Clearwater, man. He's right. That house is right in the freaking path of that thing, man. So
Yeah,
I'm hoping that it's spared, but it's not looking good because that thing looks like a beast coming our way. So
yeah,
luckily,
yeah.
luckily the trajectory has gone a little south, but we're definitely going to feel some stuff here.
hmm
But luckily, we're not in the direct path of that thing,
No,
and luckily, it's
no, nowhere,
because
nowhere compared to Tampa, Clearwater, Sarasota
yeah,
area, Bradenton. So
yeah. Like I was literally
hopefully
looking
all
at
those
it.
people have gotten out.
Yeah, for sure. I was looking at video. Like they're still suffering from Helene just a week,
Yep.
week and a half ago. So hurricanes are crazy, but to say the least, I guess let's hop into we had a crazy, crazy, chaotic weekend last weekend. Major upsets across the board with obviously Bama going down, the number one team in the country, but five total top 25 teams, four top 11 teams. We'll dive into that, when we get on the national talk after we talk about the local guys. But yeah, it was a crazy Saturday, fun Saturday, wild games. Our two teams were successful, so that's a good thing. So I guess we'll just get in with the ugly, just get it out of the bat and get it out of the way because basically I think Florida State fans want to forget about this season altogether. They
hmm
are they are terrible right now. They can't get out of their own way. Clemson puts
Uh,
another number on them. It's bad
yeah,
news
I
in
think,
Cali.
but you know what? You know what's crazy is like I don't think they looked as bad as they've been. They still look bad. It still looks clunky and it's still a lot
Yeah,
of mistakes. But I feel like I think Brock Glenn did play better than DJU for the most part. And what's crazy is they took way more shots downfield. If the receivers catch the deep balls, this game's closer than what it should have been. I think they took like 3 to 5 deep balls and they had drops and they blocked 2 field goals to keep the
that,
game
that was
close.
that's the difference in the game being worse than a 29-13 score.
Hey,
If they
100,
could have
100%. Yeah,
29 13 a two score game looks
yeah,
like you hung around and you were in the game. You add six or you add a touchdown to one of those, and next thing you know, it's 42-13. It looks a lot worse. I
yeah,
thought Clemson kind of played a little clunky as well.
yeah. No, they
I
did.
didn't
They did.
I didn't fully tune into this game because obviously I was watching the Gator game. Then my secondary game was I was watching that Tennessee Arkansas game because it was really good. So I mean I was flipping back and forth between the two,
hmm
checking in on the Florida State game. But again, bottom line, what we've been talking about all year, Florida State's number one problem is you can't run the football at all. It is
No.
it is zero effect in the ground game. So I don't care who's that quarterback. I don't care if it's Brock Glenn. I don't care if it's
Yeah,
Jordan Travis. I don't care if Jordan Travis is back there. If you can't run the ball a little bit to give those
yeah,
guys, a little bit of
yeah,
a threat, hey, you can't just come up and play coverage. You can't just come up
yeah.
and come after the quarterback. It's
No,
it's
I
a long
agree.
day.
I agree. No, I agree. But like I say, just I watched a lot of the game and I just felt like they had opportunities. They just couldn't take advantage of them. I mean, was number 21. Is it Williamson? He hit a deep shot to Williamson, and he's diving for the ball and hits him in the face mask, like at the
Yeah,
five.
that dude's had
Portier,
like five drops, dude. That
yeah,
21 is terrible. He's terrible.
yeah, Portier. He had a deep shot. He had it in his hands, and he dropped it. And I think he had like 2 or 3. Morlock had another drop, and you just go down. It's like you can't win when you're shooting yourself in the foot, especially against a top 15 team like Clemson, who's still
Yeah,
pretty good. I mean, they played against one of the better defenses in the country, and I just felt like going into the game, their game plan was we got to loosen this defense up because if we don't, they're just going to blitz us like crazy and stop our run game. And
Yeah.
like I say, they let Brock take some shots down the field, and it just, you gotta figure out a way to make those plays, and they just didn't. Clemson did what they had to do. They got into Tallahassee, they won and got out, and they're on to the next one.
Yeah, it seems like they took the approach of some of those other teams like Georgia Tech and Boston College and say, you know what, we're just going to run right at you. And they pretty much did.
Yeah.
Moffitt had a big game on the ground. They rushed for over 260 yards on the ground total.
Yeah.
Klubnik did what he needed to do, throwing the ball to keep him balanced. And it was just, again, Clemson kind of did that. That's been the other disappointing side of Florida State's team this year is their defense has been very uninspiring, very, can't stop a nosebleed, can't stop the run. Again, those are the two biggest things. When you can't run the football and you can't stop the run, those are recipes for losses every week. So until they can somewhat figure that out, they're going to continue to lose. I think maybe the schedule lightens up when they get to play like the Dukes of the world coming up. But hell, Duke's undefeated, so they got Notre Dame still. They still got you guys. So
they got a bye week this week, and they got to figure. They still got to figure some things out. I think going forward, you got to probably stay with Brock. I mean, regardless if DJ comes back and he's healthy, I just feel like just go ahead and move on.
Totally, it's you've already turned the page in a sense on this. The rumors too that they were maybe going to try to get Kromenhoek in the game. He didn't get in there at all. I think you need to get him in there. See what you got with him too. So I think
if you wait to the end of the year and he still has his 4 games to still redshirt. So I think another 2-3 games he probably won't play. And that whatever the last 4, obviously Florida being the last one, I think Florida, Miami being the last 2 of the 4, you're going to have to get him in. But you don't want to burn the red shirt if you don't have to. But, I just feel like, so you let him get in at the end of the year. You let Brock get his opportunities, and then you just tell everyone, like, hey, we got to get the kid in there to see what he got with with the last 4 games. We're not going to a bowl game. So let's just do it.
Yeah. Like their last 4 is North Carolina, Notre Dame, Charleston Southern, and Florida. That's their last 4. They basically have they got the bye this week.
Yeah,
and then they got Duke and the Canes. So like I said,
he probably won't play the Notre Dame game. He'll definitely play the Charleston Southern game.
Yeah, and like I say, where again they're a 1-win team. You talking about can they get to 6 wins to get to a bowl game? And I just definitely don't see it.
I don't see it.
Yeah, Duke, Carolina, and Charleston Southern. Those are in Florida. Those are all winnable games, but that's only to get you to 5 wins. They'd have to upset you guys or Notre Dame, and I don't see that happen at all. Like they haven't played well against the higher competition. It's crazy to think that they beat Cal. Because that Cal team you guys played. That team stayed in Berkeley. They didn't come out to Tallahassee. That was two totally different teams when they got Cal in Tallahassee than what Cal looked like the other night against you guys. So, like I said, I guess that's a perfect segue to transition into y'all's game because, like I said, the Canes or the Noles, they are what they are. Figure some stuff out in the bye week and let's move on and try to get a win against Duke. But Your boy has made it real interesting late Saturday night. I think we both were on the panic concern button there when it got to be 28-35-10. It was just like Miami couldn't do anything right. Cal, the energy was juiced. Cal was playing out of their mind. It was all that, and then it was just like all right, settle in, just try to keep getting scores back and just take it one drive at a time in a sense. And slowly but surely they kept chipping away, and then had a shot there late in the game and, made the big, huge drive to win another freaking nail biter. I think Canes, big resiliency, big show, but now Cam, you're starting to play with a little bit of fire, Cam. I need you to, ratchet up the intensity there and not, mess around, make it so airy, but I think the most part I was disappointed with the defense. The defense kind of like that damn running back from Cal. He looked like he was fast as hell, man. He was a blur.
The injuries are starting to pile up a little bit on the defensive side, but you tip your cap to Cal coming off a bye week. They schemed up a really good game to go against our tendencies. Some of the touchdowns, like the touchdowns the Canes gave up. The first touchdown was. They jump the screen. The tight end gets open. He gets downfield. The 4th and 1 where Ott gets the ball and scampers down the field, which he stepped out of bounds, but everyone's talking about the targeting. He stepped out of bounds.
Targeting,
There's
baby,
video.
targeting.
Yeah, but Ott stepped out of bounds on the 4th and 1. Popo has to know that, hey, yeah, the quarterback's running, but you still got to stay with your guy. You got help on the inside, and even if they pick up the first down, they pick up the first down. So a lot of blown coverages in the first half. And then on the offensive side, they just couldn't get anything going. You got to give Cal defense a lot of credit. The offensive line was a little confused. I think they couldn't run the ball. Cam was a little off. I think Cam was kind of big game hunting and trying to take a lot of shots down the field. He kind of had a TBD moment when I text the group. And because if you go back and watch it, there was a lot of guys. There were a lot of guys open underneath. And it was just like, hit Martinez in the flat or hit Arroyo in the flat. It's like, why are we going down the field? And then the interception, the pick six, was like, what's the number one rule as a quarterback? You don't throw the ball across the field.
Yeah.
And like I say, I just feel like he was big game hunting. But, Mario and Dawson understand, and Dawson said it last week. He understands. He got to take the good with the bad with Cam. And that's just where they're at. So it is what it is. Second half, the defense settled in. Offense, hey, everybody, like I say, everybody complained about the refs. You were up 25. Like, you can't lose a game up 25 and then pin it on one play and say, oh, that was targeting. It's like, all right, so what about the other 17 points, 16, 17 points you gave up?
What about the illegal man downfield on the touchdown?
Okay. What about the face mask on Cam on the same play? There was a face mask they didn't call. So for every point a Cal person or the people the ACC is a conspiracy for the Canes, there's a counterpoint.
They call pass interference on you guys too, like the play before too.
Yeah, on the Sam Brown. Yeah, call on Sam Brown. He never touched it. So it's like, all right, guys, if you're going to make an argument, watch the whole game and see everything that plays out. Because, like I said, I could point out several things that Cal got away with, just like Miami got away with. So it is what it is. The Canes won. They moved on. They just got to play. They got to play better. They're into a bye week. Now, the thing that scares me is the last several years, Canes out of a bye week never play good. You got a noon game at Louisville. But
Louisville's reeling too. They're desperate, so they're going to need to win big time.
Mm-hmm. I guess Cam had a great fourth quarter. I think going into the third, I think he only had a little over 100 yards, 150, and he ended up with 437 and 2 TDs. So, hey, Restrepo with the big catch.
Restrepo's he's a monster, dude. He's Mr. Reliable. He's always open. He's fast as shit. He's always in the holes. Like he's hell of a player.
Yeah, he has the most 100-yard receiving games in Canes history, and he's steady moving up the charts for most yards and most receptions. He's like in the top 5, and by the end of the year, he'll be number 1 in almost every receiving category for the Canes.
Yeah. You had one of your former Canes receivers there on the sideline.
The last 2 weeks.
Everyone's been like, I've never watched a game doggy style. He was on all fours, just.
Well, he said he was on Cam and Mace and said his back was locking up, so he had to get down and kind of stretch it out. But he was not leaving the sideline. He was going to watch the game, and that was pretty crazy. And hey, man, like I told you after the Virginia Tech game, the Canes from the last 5, 6, 7 years would have lost that game. They would have just gave up.
They definitely found a way to lose it. For sure. Like I say,
Cam's a dog. Just Cam's a dog. That's all what it is. Cam's a dog.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you don't have Cam Ward, you lose both of those games.
Yeah, you're 3-2.
Yeah.
Or 3-3, whatever it is.
Yeah. Might even be 3-3. It just he definitely elevates. Obviously he's right now. What I don't like is some of the nonchalantness still. There was one time where he was running out of bounds slow again, and the Cal guy popped him. You can't do those. You can't, like you say, take those shots, throwing across your body, in a critical game where a team's better than Cal, that might cost you, So again, you can do that against the Cals and the Virginia Techs of the world where you're kind of just better than those teams. Like I say, the going in, I felt that you guys were going to be a passing team. I mean, 53 attempts. He's throwing it for 400 yards a game. I mean, that's who you are. You definitely want to develop more of the ground game, but I guess this is what I wanted to ask you. I almost feel like Mark Fletcher should get more carries than Martinez right
I
now. I
agree.
don't know.
I agree.
I
I've
don't.
told I said that in the last 2 weeks because Fletcher's getting more downhill. Where the offensive line last year, I think Martinez would have fit in behind that offensive line because they were more of a ground and pound with Matt Lee, especially with Javion Cohen at left guard. They were more of the bullies that wanted to run the ball and he could pick his hole. This year, the offensive line is kind of a more finesse offensive line, and they're not bullying guys like they did earlier in the season to get upfield. And we just need that downhill running game. We don't need a patient runner like
Yeah,
Martinez, but he's been good out the backfield though.
he has. Like I said, they basically split carries.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at Fletcher had 11 for 81 and Martinez had 12 for 42, you're like, man, I know. Obviously, Fletcher had that 28-yard run, but I just feel like he's running more physical, more harder, hitting the hole quicker, like you said, not being patient. And Martinez he doesn't look like he looked at Oregon State right now. I don't know if
No,
I don't know what it is. It just doesn't look like that. Like when he was
no.
at Oregon State, I'm like, this dude, he was hitting it, he was
Yeah.
running hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what it is, but hopefully, like I said, you can't just don't abandon him and just say, all right, well, Mark
No.
Fletcher's getting all the carries. But if he's running 12 times for 42 yards and the other guy's running better, then his carries need to start dwindling
Yeah,
down,
but
kind of
he
like the
also he
Gators.
also had a big catch to set
Yeah, he
up that
did.
last touchdown on the
He did.
was it 3rd and 20?
Yeah, he had the
Um,
22 yard. He had the 22-yard catch because he ended
yeah.
up with
I
51 receiving yards.
Hey,
So I mean, like I said,
some
he's
of
definitely a factor.
the bigger critiques I have, like I say, yes, I think Fletcher should be the guy. I'm fine even if Martinez still starts and
Right.
he plays and they have that balance running attack between the two. Lyles carries went down. The bigger issue is all the dumb penalties. One, Jacoby George gets a personal foul every Saturday. This is like
Yeah.
it's contagious around the country. It's just ridiculous when you look on a Saturday and you see these guys getting the most idiotic penalties week in
Bro,
and week out.
what is
It,
going
it,
on, bro?
I'm all about celebrating. I'm all about these kids having a great time. Football is a physical sport. You put in
Yeah.
me and you, we both done it.
I,
You put in a
I'm
lot
always
of work and time, but
I'm
come
always
on,
about
man.
I'm always about talking shit. I'm always about talking trash. I'm always about when you're up, sell out, celebrate, all that. I used to do that all the time. But there's a certain degree of like
There's a
what
line.
level,
There's a line.
like it is like we could talk about the Dylan Stewart one right now. It's just
Yeah.
that was baffling to me. Like what is this?
In what
Even
world did you think that was
well,
like okay?
here's the other one too. Even Pyburn, you might not have caught this one in the Gator game. It was very quick and subtle. It was after they had the big 4th-and-1 stop. It's like he was celebrating on the side with
Oh,
the
I did
teammates,
see
and
that.
he
Yeah, I
kicked
did
down the
see
door
it.
and he did a quick spray.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Everybody.
wasn't anybody. It
It's
wasn't anybody. What is up with the gun gesturing now? Like
yeah.
we're doing gun violence celebrations now.
It's ridiculous, dude.
Like
It's
my buddy sent me one. I don't know if this was a high school game. I will have to send it to you so you can see it. I don't know if it was like a D2. It was not. This wasn't a big game. It was on like hurdles or whatever on Instagram. The guy, locked the guy up. He pulled the seatbelt, strapped him in. Then he lifted the shirt up, pulled the gun out, and then shot him with it like a handgun gesture. I'm like, what is
yeah.
this, man? What is this? So it's just like
It's sponge. It's ridiculous. Everyone's making a big deal about Malachi Moore for Alabama like losing his shit. But I'd rather that than see a guy act like he's shooting someone. Like I'm not
yeah,
condoning what Malachi did was wrong, but he was just hot and
yeah.
intense.
That was a crybaby move, kicking the ball and throwing his
For
mouthpiece.
sure. For
That was
sure.
just. I mean, yeah, it's nothing compared to the gestures and stuff of these guys' celebrations. Like
It's like, come on.
even
It's like, guys,
even
come on, man.
like I say, the age old celebration that everybody's been doing for years and years and years. The big first down when they make a catch downfield, which is fine. But now people are putting it into like a shotgun AR. Like the Brian
Well,
Thomas Jr. got the call. It's just like just signal first down and get back to the huddle.
but like we both agree, we're cool with the kids celebrating. But when you're down 25, why are you celebrating? Dylan Stewart, you are getting your ass kicked up and down the field, and you're
that's a whole
celebrating.
nother one. That's a whole nother one.
It's like,
exactly.
It's like, come on, man. You're cocky. Or South Carolina was never in that game at
Yeah,
any point, and you're getting up and you're shooting Jackson Dart like you did some big
yeah,
whoop. You got
yeah,
to sack. Who
yeah.
cares? You got to
Exactly.
sack. And your team's
You're
getting
losing.
drugged through the mud.
You're losing by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
You know.
it's like, just even like I was happy to see Horton when Horton caught the touchdown to make it a 6 point game. He just told everybody, "Hey, let's just get off the field. Let's just go off
Yeah.
the let's get off the field and get to the sideline."
Exactly, man. It's like there's certain times to celebrate, certain times when not to celebrate. There's lines to draw. There's it's
Yeah,
all that, and like it's like these kids just don't give a damn. Do
it's the, it's just
it,
a, it's just a culture. It's just that's what it
it's
is
that,
now.
and it's so personal. It's like it's so selfish, dude. And it's like
Hmm.
that's what I think the number one problem is, and that's the whole NIL world created is the selfishness of these guys is just unbelievable. There's no,
Yeah,
and I know that's why coaches hate. They just hate because it's that loyalty and that team first mentality is just like very rare that you get,
yeah.
and you don't get to build that culture because a you got 20 new guys that weren't a part of your team the year before, and so now you're trying
Hmm.
to build them in and bring them in, and guess what? If they're not happy, they're already looking to go next year. It's just
I mean, how many
it,
guys already announced they're in they're redshirting
yeah,
into the transfer
exactly.
portal?
There's multiple guys already, and we're 6 games into the season, and just like you said, guys now are going to opt to not play these last half of the year to be like, well, I'm going to save this so I can go somewhere next year, and it's just it's very unfortunate, and but that's just
I
the
blame the adults, just like with
yeah no
NIL.
no
I
100%.
blame the adults in the room
Yeah,
because NIL could have been structured before it
yeah.
happened. I
And well,
blame the coaches for
this
allowing it
is
to happen,
well
especially in 7-on-7.
this is the biggest problem too, and I noticed this even going back to Trinity days, right? And I'll use a perfect example. DJ Matthews, freaking freak of an athlete, hell of a ball player. He was at Trinity, getting ready to go to Trinity his ninth grade year, coming out of eighth grade. Ended up not going to Trinity because we had Isaiah still, we had some big time receivers, so he knew he wasn't going to be the guy. He goes to First Coast, and that was DeAndre's senior year. They went on a heck of a run. They had a lot of seniors that year too, but they went all the way to the state championship, lost. He played another season over there, and then transferred over to us. And the way it felt like we had to coddle and like it's everything's okay to make sure that nothing was wrong, you know, upsetting the rocking the boat or anything to appease the kid.
Hmm.
Like that showed me, and that was like 7 years ago, you know. And then the whole, like you say, 7-on-7 world of, oh, come play for me, and then okay, I'm going to give you all this gear, and then what else are you going to give me, coach? And oh, well, you know what, South Florida Express, they're going to give me gift cards and this, that, and the other, and they're going to fly me to Vegas, so I'm going to go play with them, and then next week I'm going to go play with blah blah blah, and then I'm going to go play with Cam Newton's team, and then so you're like, okay, well, like you're not going to play with your local team with your friends to go
Hmm.
play these, and so again, the the selfishness of it is to where it's the me mentality has overtaken the sport. I know we're getting
Yeah.
totally off. I know we're totally getting off topic here, but it is what it is. The me mentality has taken over the sport to where it's not just about the team anymore. It's about what can I get, how can I get further up, and it's even matriculated on into the NFL. That's why you see the guys holding out. You see guys, the free agency, they're ready to bounce. You got ill will towards
Well,
teammates. It's
here's the
you
thing though.
just chase the bag, baby, chase the bag.
I don't mind going up. You're pointing up at you're professional. You're getting a
Right.
contract, all of that.
Well,
The one you should be pointing out is it's going down. The video you
yeah,
sent in the group with the kid with the belt in the line,
right.
a Pop Warner kid with a
Great,
belt.
great,
It's like,
great
coaches, what are
example.
you cool with this?
Great example. Great example. When I saw that, I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. It's literally this was yeah. The video is like probably probably an 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
literally in the handshake line after you just beat a team where that's where you're supposed to pay your congratulations, your shout outs. Hell of a game. You guys gave us a game. Whatever. You're giving your props to the other team, and this kid literally is trying to shake a hand with his right hand and then smacking the other guys with the belt. Like, I just put belt to ass. Like, I just whooped you. And again, I'm all for like talking shit and celebrating. But again, the handshake line is where you basically go to basically say good game to the
Pay
other teammate.
respect. Pay
You show
respect
sport,
to your
you show
opponent.
sportsmanship. You know
Yeah.
what have we
But you
lost
blame the
that? Like
coaches.
totally.
You blame the adults
1,000%. 1,000%.
because how did a coach not see him with a belt in his hand?
I would have been like, motherfucker, give me that damn. I would have whooped him on the sideline with it. You know what I'm saying? I'd been like,
Yeah.
show some respect to your your fellow competitor. You know, like
it was sad seeing a lot of that on. I mean, just every Saturday you see it, and then you put and in the Dylan Stewart play, they're getting off the field. That was a third down. That was a third down sack. Not saying they would have won the game, but it's a third down sack. You may get the ball, and if you score, it could be 27-14,
right,
or 10, or whatever the score was.
Yeah,
And
like I say,
you never know; it might jumpstart.
Yeah, like I say, the problem is it's become too repetitive with your boy for the Canes to do it every week. Like so,
Jacoby George every week.
Yeah,
every week.
So it's like it's just. It's not like you want to bench the guy, but I mean, what do you do to get him to stop doing it? Because when you're selfish like that, what happens in a critical moment, like where maybe you're getting off the field, or maybe you just had a big play, maybe he was blocking downfield.
But it's like you say, hypothetically, they're in the ACC championship game and they're playing against Clemson. You're playing against one of the better teams in the country. You probably can't get back from that. That could be a spiral effect to send you out of the game versus, like you say, a Cal or Virginia Tech. No slight to them because they both could have won those games. But when your opponent's inferior, you might be able to get away with it. But when you're on par with a lot of teams you're about to play going down, hell, even still in the Florida State Miami game, Florida State still has talent. They still have enough talent. And if you keep doing stuff like that because you're arrogant and you think you're better, next thing you know, Florida State could be up like, hey, we're up 21-7. We're not giving this back. We don't have to score anymore. We just got to play great defense, which they're still capable of doing. And you just can't put your team in those situations. And these guys have just become so selfish. And it's like, I get it. You think this is going to help your NIL brand. You know what helps your NIL brand? If you win and you make plays like a Ryan Williams or Jeremiah Smith or Ashton Jeanty. Those guys are balling right now. You don't see all the craziness, and their NIL evaluations have gone up just because they're making plays. That's how you get your NIL up.
The play on the field speaks loud enough for you to get what you need to get, not your mouth or your celebration that's cute for TikTok or Instagram, Twitter, and whatever. Like cute. That's all cute. Like that just goes to show, like you're again, those are the turds of the teams. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
like I say, I have no problems with guys celebrating, shooting the arrow. That's different than the gun, doing the little dances, doing whatever in the end zone. But when you're acting like you're shooting someone, and then kids are watching this, so the kids are going to the Pop Warner fields and they think that's okay. And it's the trickle down effect. Like you say, what the pros do is
that's the funny thing too. The Cam Ward celebration has like taken over the world. Like all the high school kids are doing it. Like I know you don't go to a lot of high school games, or you don't see a lot of
No, I've been seeing it on Twitter. I've been seeing a lot of people posting it.
Everybody's doing it. I'm just like, damn, Cam Ward celebration. And again, it's it's like a funny looking celebration. So it's not like anything disrespectful in a sense. It's just haha, whatever. But yeah, it's like that celebration is taking over like the dab, with Cam, this year. So that's the celebration. So
yeah,
but the Canes getting a big win. They
got the W.
Back-to-back cardiac cats with last-second victories in back-to-back weeks. Now,
man, I'm happy it's a bye week.
Yeah, I was about to say you get to take a load off. Regroup, get some guys healthy, like you said, like you've been talking about. Get some guys back. Regroup. Get just recharge the juices. Come up with a good game plan.
Bain back. Ruben Bain made some huge plays at the end of the game.
Yeah, because I feel like the back half of your schedule is definitely gettable. Louisville game coming out of it, I think it sets up perfect. I know you say you're coming off, bye weeks are not the Miami recipe, but I think it's a perfect week to have the bye going into that road game at Louisville to basically scheme it up. Have everything schemed up because, like I say, Louisville's going to be a wounded dog trying to just get anything in that game. So, but after that, I love the rest of the schedule. So we're not going to go deep into the dive of the schedule. So we'll keep it at that. We know
We're
obviously
1-0.
When Knowles are coming down, but Knowles are terrible. But we'll move on over to the swamp in Gainesville, where the mighty Gators.
You got your Gator hat on.
The Gators played some pretty good.
Hat on.
Played some pretty good football on Saturday. I was happy about the defensive performance. I was happy about the defensive performance because if that was the number 2 rushing offense in the country, they pretty much shut it down. And
they played real physical Saturday.
Made it one dimensional, and even that, hell, they at one point I think the UCF offense rushing had like 20 yards going into like the fourth quarter. I think they ripped off like 61, like
61-yard run, yeah.
Yeah, and that's or 61 yards in a span that made them have
on a drive. Yeah.
They only finished with 108 total yards rushing. So, and then KJ looks bad. I don't know what it is. He's
Ja'Cory. Just go ahead and put Ja'Cory in. Just put Ja'Cory in.
It's just not. I don't know. It just
but you know what it is, Sponge. It was going to be. I'm gonna just go ahead and throw it out there. It was going to be one of my takeaways from this past week. If you look at all the high-powered offenses that started the first 3 weeks, they've all been once they've started playing teams with competition. Ole Miss, Tennessee, UCF, they haven't been so high-powered the last 2 weeks.
Definitely not, and that's definitely been a huge takeaway as well.
Yeah.
So some of those teams might have been a little overinflated when they finally played a team that has similar caliber talent and maybe a little bit of more, maybe a litch more punchback than Kent State. And the best graphic was somebody did a Nico a meme saying it was basically Nico when I'm not playing Kent State, and it was DJU. I was like,
yeah,
but I'm not going to go.
I truly think that's what it is. I mean, I don't know who UCF started the season with, but it's starting to show that hey, maybe they look good the first 3-4 weeks, but
they played
Colorado exposed them.
They played New Hampshire, Sam Houston State, and TCU. 3 not so good teams. Yeah. And then, like I say, then Colorado put a number on them. Then obviously, like I said, the Gators, jumped out, played really well in the first half, and then you say, oh, what happened to the Gators in the second half? They literally only had 3 true possessions in the second half. Yeah. So they kind of
UCF tried to deflate the ball.
Yeah, they choked it out a little bit. It
was also the one thing for your Gator defense was the local kid Pyburn being back.
Yeah, no, for sure. He looked good.
He collapsed. Did you see the one play where he collapsed the whole side of the line to make a play? And this is like
he's playing with that like raged, hair on fire, like that. That's what you need. Like, let me give it some more of that attitude. So I mean, Napier said in the bye week they took a different approach at practice. They kind of made everything a lot more physical. Did a lot of competition style practice. And they hit. So
you see it. You saw it on Saturday.
This was my biggest takeaway. I was like, this was the surprise to me. I'm like watching the game and I'm like, is that Austin Armstrong on the sideline, jacked up and geeked up? I'm like, he's been in the booth the whole season. I'm like, is this guy even on staff anymore? So now the rumor is like, did he take over the play calling duties on defense because he's an aggressive, more aggressive blitzing style of coach, and they definitely played that way. So it was like, did Billy be like, you know what, Ron Roberts, this passive shit ain't working. Like let's get after it. Let's get after stop the run.
I think for the most part this season both styles haven't really worked, and getting a guy like a Pyburn back and
like I say, they haven't been doing it. They've been running a lot of too high. On 4th and short, we got 2 safeties 20 yards away from the ball. Like, you're not going to stop a 4th and 1. Yeah, you get out of too high so you can stop the run. Hell, Mel Kiper went too high out of the game because we can't throw it on too high. But
right.
I thought my biggest takeaway too is, man, going back to like quarterback play, DJ, he definitely has the it factor, and he only gets those limited possessions.
Yeah,
that throw he made the DK, man, that was an NFL throw. NFL throw, and Mertz, like, he's checked down Charlie now, man. I don't know if he's gun shy to throw it downfield to try those same passes, because I know Napier's calling those same plays for Mertz because he hit him last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's gun shy from that Miami game. I don't know if he just doesn't feel confident because there was several third downs where he just immediately just turned and just threw it to Montreal like behind the line of scrimmage and it was punt. He's definitely completing balls at a high percentage. I mean, 5 balls on the ground between both quarterbacks, so that's really good.
Yeah, that's good.
I need some shot plays. I need him to take some chances.
Yeah,
the big play factor isn't there, and so if you want to have an upset against the Tennessee, against the Ole Miss, against the LSU, against one of these big teams, you can't just do that all day. You got to take some shots. So my question is, do we keep platooning the quarterbacks like this? Do you give DJ a little bit more? I feel like you should do that eventually because I feel like it's a lost season again because we look at the schedule and be like, where are we going to get any wins? Definitely things can change because you're like, oh, well, look, Arkansas beat Tennessee. It's just this is the other thing, talking about all the upsets is the fact that like you have every week is a different week. Every game is a different game.
I've been saying that. I've been saying that all year.
The matchups are always going to be different. You're going to be going on the road. All that home field is huge. We saw that last year how big home field was, and it's always like that. So, Florida going to Knoxville this week, I don't have a good feeling at all. Tennessee's going to play really well at home, coming off a loss and all that, but it's
a bad loss, a very bad loss where they probably still should have won the game.
Yeah. So like Florida beating UCF, this is what I said at the beginning of the year. In no realm of possibility, we should be breaking down Florida UCF like it's a big game. This should be a win every freaking year. Yeah, times have changed. This ain't your granddaddy's Gators and all that, but they don't belong. They're the little freaking sister, and they can stay in Disney World and go. Good luck in the Big 12, buddies. So I'm just happy we got our win because that was one of the wins I thought we'd get. Now going forward, good luck. I don't know where we're getting one. Maybe Florida State on Thanksgiving because the hell road begins Saturday. So like I say, we'll break down the Gator game, but against Tennessee here in a second. But
what is Saturday?
Let's rehash basically the other big ones that went down. Obviously, we'll talk about those teams going down, but the biggest one of the day was the Vanderbilt Commodores, the Vandy Commodores taking down the number 1 team in the country. Man, wild game. I actually enjoyed the game. It was fun to watch. Definitely didn't like the outcome at all because obviously I like Bama, but Vandy, give credit to them. They didn't just like upset them or get something to go their way. They won that game. They did everything they needed to do offensively, defensively.
40 minutes of possession.
I mean, 42 minutes, dude. That is unbelievable. Like what happens is I was talking to Gator Dave about it. Literally, the recipe for beating the number 1 team is obviously you possess the ball. They converted third down ad nauseum. It was like they could not stop them. So drives just continued. The defense stayed on the field, and then you get a pick six, and then you get the dreaded double number penalty. So the Gators aren't the only team to do that. Bama does that on a punt return where they're getting the ball instead. First down Vandy, and then they went. That drive ended up taking 17 plays on that drive.
12 for 18 on third down.
Yeah.
That's at one time insane.
At one time they were like 9 of like 12 or 9 of 13. Then Bama's making life. They're coming back. They get a big, huge sack fumble. They go on and score on that drive on like a 4th and 1 play where your boy Malachi Crybaby Moore gets completely roasted. Dude makes that hell of a everything went right. Everything went right for Vandy.
Vandy took advantage of their opportunities, and they kept the pep. How everybody's been saying, all gas, no brakes. That's literally, and you got to give a lot of credit to Diego. Diego's been balling, man. He's been balling this year.
We noticed him. I didn't obviously study Vandy going into the season, but that very first Saturday when they were playing Virginia Tech, I'm like, who the hell is this quarterback? I'm like, who is this damn quarterback? He's all over the place. He's good. Like next thing you know, they knock him off. And then, like Joe said, how did this team lose to Georgia State? Like, how does that happen?
You got to show up and play football. You got to show up and play football. It's not like how it was in the 90s where these teams were rolling out 80, 90 guys because there was no transfer portal, and teams could stockpile. Your third, fourth string are still better than Vandy's or the Charleston Southerns or your Arkansas or your Minnesotas and stuff like that. Now guys are like everywhere. Kids are like,
no, for sure. Oh yeah, Georgia State's got. They got some players.
I could go and start at Vandy.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just like you look at that and you're like, how did this team lose to Georgia State? And then they pretty much had Missouri knocked out, and they just couldn't kick a field goal. So Vandy could be 6-0, man, or 5-0.
Aren't you glad you guys don't play Vandy this year?
Yeah, I definitely don't want to play Vandy. Don't want to play Vandy. I don't want to play Arkansas. I'm glad we don't got to play them. Now, I mean, like you say, who are you taking off?
Or South Carolina.
I don't know. South Carolina is now starting to look kind of sus. So I don't know. Hey, we'll see.
All right.
Well, you see who they got this week, right?
Who they got this week?
They get Bama. They get Bama.
Yeah. I forgot. Yeah, it's a 20 something point. Yeah.
So
I just think you gotta. I think if remember when everyone used to laugh at Saban when Saban you get a big win like the Georgia game, and then you got a Vandy, and then he's talking about rat poison and all this other stuff, and teams were like, come on, Nick, why are you tripping? Why are you making this up? You guys are going to beat Vandy. Coaches, you just got to know today you can't sit there and say, oh, we're going to go in and beat that team.
Yeah, unless you're playing
unless you're playing like a VMI or FAM or teams like that where your talent is so superior that you can't, you should win the game. But I think on a Power 4 level, you still can't mess around, or a high group of 5, you can't play around with it.
Yeah, did you see Ryan Williams is the youngest player ever to lose to Vandy?
Man, that catch he had on the sideline. It's like he floats.
Here's the thing: Bama's offense was fine. They obviously you can't have the 2 turnovers.
6 and right.
Like they to have the ball only for like 16 minutes and have 400 yards. And 400 yards of offense.
Yeah,
that wasn't the problem. Defensively, they couldn't get off the field. They couldn't make stops when they needed to. Never happened. And this is where now this is the concerning thing going forward. Now, what is Bama? And is that defense really fraudulent? And is it not so hot? And what do they do going forward with some of these games they got down the line?
Well, there's a lot of going back
in the late second half when Carson went slap off.
I was just going to say that going back a week before, a lot of people were saying that Bama really didn't make second half adjustments. They kind of played status quo, and Georgia just went off.
Well, I think what happened was, I think where they made the adjustments was defensively trying to contain Milrose, where they made the adjustments. I think offensively they just said, we got some plays here, we just got to hit them, and that's what they did. And obviously Beck went, threw it for 400. I heard, rumors way back to week 1, or not rumors, but like people who watched the games broke it down. They were like, Western Kentucky had guys open, they just couldn't hit it. And then even South Florida had guys open and they couldn't hit it. Mm-hmm. So like those 2 teams just couldn't hit it to where Carson Beck started hitting it. This was a totally different style of offense. Really, Vandy wasn't hitting them downfield, but Texas is going to take their shots, when they play them. LSU is going to take their shots when they play them. So I feel like this Bama team, somebody, I don't know if it was Bud Elliott, he was like, basically their secondary is trash, and Alabama is a Big 12 team. They're going to basically try to outscore you and be in shootouts every Saturday, and this is going to be the MO of that team going forward. And I was like, I kind of don't disagree with that, because that defense has left a lot to be desired, obviously, in the last 2 weeks. And offensively, I think they're going to be fine, but now I think they're going to have to win games in shootout fashion and hope that defense can make a critical stop here or there, and you don't turn the ball over. But we'll just have to wait and see. A lot of people are going to overreact and all that, but again, hell of a win for Vandy. And like I say, now there's definitely. Did you hear the guy? This was good. Did you hear the guy, the huge Bama fan who calls in on Feinbaum's show? His name's Legend.
I heard he wanted DeBoer fired. He's already jumping off the ledge.
And then he said this. He said, man, losing to Vandy is like walking over to your neighbor's house and finding out your wife's sleeping with your neighbor.
Wow. Only on Feinbaum, man. Feinbaum has the craziest callers. Those people are nuts, man.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
But no, Bama goes down. The other top team, the Tennessee Volunteers, look like straight booty cheeks on offense in that game.
I was about to say, I thought the defense played great, and the
Yeah, defense
offense
played
just
really
couldn't
good.
get the offense. They just couldn't find anything. They just couldn't get anything going. They couldn't keep a drive. They couldn't do anything. Nico had happy feet. We saw
Yeah,
Nico having happy feet, and he was not hitting it.
now definitely the key. This is a cause for concern. I got to check it. I haven't looked into the deep dive, but I know he had Squirrel White got hurt late in that game, and he
Yep.
never came back. Bro McCoy was banged up. Another one of the receivers was banged up. They were down like 3-4 receivers.
Yeah, they were down a lot. Yeah.
And so I don't know what the status is going into this week with those guys. So that'll be a big thing for Florida. Obviously Sampson has been the guy on the ground, and they did a decent job. Of he was a factor, but he really wasn't. It was more so Nico really didn't make any big throws downfield. Nico's legs,
No.
Didn't really affect the game. And like you said, he was kind of happy feet back there. I thought where the game was going to get over was when the guy submarined into Green on that throw he made. It was hell of a throw. I don't know how it got completed. And then he was basically out for the game. So you're like, damn, Arkansas is going to have to win this with the backup. And that throw set them up to get inside the 10, and they couldn't even get in the end zone. They had to settle for 3.
Mm-hmm.
But then they were able to get a couple big plays late in the game. Arkansas was to where they basically Tennessee said, "Screw it, get in the end zone. Let's give Nico a shot." And that was a smart thing for Heupel to do because Tennessee did get the ball down the field. But then, like everybody else has been saying, Nico's awareness on the next update NCAA 25 needs to go down to like 12% because you can't run out of bounds on the last play of the game, dude. You got to throw it in the end zone. You got to throw it to where you got a shot. So that
Exactly.
was very. Somebody did a side by side of Joe Milton, I think 2 years ago, did the exact same thing. Like the very similar situations. You're down by 5 or 6 points. You need a touchdown. You're close to the red, and you basically both of them ran out of bounds.
How long have you been hearing me complain about situational football and a lot of these guys being down the last several years, where you're not knowing the clock, you're not knowing the game situation of I got to get rid of it. We should let this guy get in the end zone or whatever. Even a couple of weeks ago, I got to give like Devin Singletary a heads up, a big congrats where he went down at the 1 for the Giants to win.
Yeah,
and a lot of people were mad, like, why the hell did he go down? I was like, he knows the situation. Yeah, you go up 2 touchdowns, but you give the other team opportunity to get a quick score with time, onside kick, get the ball back, and then score again. Whereas if he goes down at the 1, don't care about your fantasy points, and you can run the clock out, game's over, you get the W. Like, you just can't. That's just great awareness of game situations of knowing, I think, get down.
On the flip side of that, it's where you would say, okay, the Arkansas quarterback should like slid down at the 1, and then maybe ran a couple more plays, try to get in, let some more clock come off. Yeah, I think that Harry and
we're asking a backup to do that too, though.
And Arkansas, their kicker was hurt. They were down to their backup kicker.
Yeah.
So you're going to really rely on this. Yes, it's like extra point, but now you're putting it in the hands of your kicker to make a chip shot field goal to win the game. By 1 point instead of just punch it in and saying, "Hey, we got to play defense for a minute and a half. Like, let's just go play ball." So again, that's what happened. Arkansas has been a scrappy team. I know that they definitely got to be hating life that they lost that Oklahoma State game. They had that one in the bag. And then they had a hell of a game last week to a team who's turned out to be really, really good in A&M.
I think Sam Pittman kept his job.
Definitely. Now, like I say, let me see who their schedule is probably going to get tougher, but they've already got 4 wins, so that's the great thing. It doesn't get any easier. They're on a bye week this week too. Then they got LSU. That'll be a tough one. But I like I say, I still don't know what LSU team is. We're going to find out LSU here in the next couple of weeks. They got Mississippi State, who I think they can beat. Ole Miss, that'll be an interesting one. Then they got Texas, yikes. And then they close out with La Tech and Missouri. So I'm not sure about Missouri this year. So, hell, if they can steal, they should beat Mississippi State. And if they can steal one of the LSU or Ole Miss games, you're looking at a 7-8 win season for Arkansas, which would be huge.
The controversial hire of Bobby Petrino to run the offense has looked way better than it has since Sam Pittman's been there.
Yeah, Taylor Green has been like light
Hmm.
years. Like he's been great, and
I mean, they're
talk
putting up
about
400 plus yards a week for
yeah,
the most
yeah,
part. Like you said, Oklahoma State game, they had almost 800 yards of offense.
yeah, for sure. Like I say, well, the other big takeaways were the other ranked teams losing. You had Missouri just getting completely
I think,
stomped by A&M.
I think their clock ran out because we've been saying that all week. The first 2 weeks we didn't know anything about Missouri because they didn't play anyone, and as they started playing teams, we started saying, I don't know if this Missouri's team any good. I think they just can't run the football, not having Schrader there, and they couldn't get Luther Burton the ball at all against Texas A&M secondary to shut them down completely.
Well, like I say,
Hey, it was
you
ugly.
know, you know who the blanket is, right?
Yeah,
You know that whole story, right?
yeah.
You know who that is?
Who is that?
That's my big cuz D Lee from the Florida Gators. That's his
Oh,
nephew.
yeah. Okay.
That's his nephew.
I saw D Lee was at the game. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
D Lee. Yeah, D Lee, the former defensive end from Kirkwood, St. Louis, Missouri, was the number one rated defensive end in the country. Went to the Florida Gators. One of the big homies. Yeah, that's his nephew playing for the Texas A&M Ags.
Oh,
Sent
okay.
that allegedly sent that blanket to Theo Weiss in his hotel
There's
room,
no allegedly. They sent it.
and and uh and so basically, yeah, A&M's defense has been playing. Obviously, Elko's playing good ball. I think the story is, they. I think Connor Wegman early in the season probably wasn't healthy, and I think that maybe they
He
weren't.
looked
They
good.
didn't. Yeah, well, I think what it
Going
was
into that game, to be honest with you, I thought they should have stuck with Marcel Reed,
Reed.
but Wegman
Yeah.
actually looked really good in that game Saturday.
Well, I think he's finally healthy, and I think what I was going to say was I think what happened was when you're going to start the season and you're playing Notre Dame right off the bat, you're thinking I can't put a true freshman in here in Marcel Reed or a
True.
redshirt freshman, so we got to
Yeah.
go with Wegman just because he's experienced. He might be a little banged up, and then obviously they went with him the next week when they were playing, whoever I forget, sorry team they were playing, they beat. But then I think they finally were like, you know what? Let's let Wegman get healthy. We got a good spot here. We're playing the Gators. They
Dude,
stink.
and then
And then
their
Marcel
schedule's
Reed,
pretty favorable too.
very, very scared. Like I'm like A&M could be that surprise team to
Mm-hmm.
sneak in. Now, obviously they close out with the Texas Longhorns, which that could be 1 versus 2 in the SEC if things
Hey, man,
shake out.
I remember that used to be one of the better
Yeah,
rivalry games Thanksgiving
yeah,
weekend, and we finally got
yeah,
it back after what, like 11 years, 11, 12
yeah.
years.
No,
And you know
it's
that one's going to
we're
be
still
hot and heavy.
we're a long way away, but that could.
Yeah.
Oh, I think they've already. I think somebody. I don't know if you saw that too. Somebody posted tickets prices for that game already are like in the 3,000s.
I
Like
believe it. Like I said, they
like
haven't played in 11 years, and it's
yeah,
been Texas fans calling out Texas A&M, calling them cowards and leaving, and because usually, like Oregon State, games like that, they still play that big rivalry game, and A&M basically said, "Nah, we're playing the SEC schedule. We don't want to play Texas anymore."
yeah. No, I remember, and so yeah, that was definitely the big A&M. They're a team to look out for. The other two top teams that went down are the Big Ten boys. The Michigan Wolverines look like absolute pure dog piss on the
Mm-hmm.
road at Washington. Quarterback play has been bad. They can't throw it for a lick, and then
Nope.
the Fighting USC Trojans, who I completely retract everything I said after week one
Yeah.
overreaction against LSU. They're
Yeah.
terrible. Lincoln Riley,
Well,
I don't
too.
know, bro. I don't know Lincoln
Yeah.
Riley.
Yeah.
Sorry,
It
Cooey.
is.
It looks rough out there in
Yeah.
in
Well, the
Trojan
other
land.
the other two big games that we really didn't talk about, we could throw UNLV out of the group of five discussion to get that last
Yeah,
playoff spot.
yeah. That was a
They
heck of a game
lost.
Friday night.
They should have won that game, but they didn't. They finally found a way to get Ricky White the ball the last couple of weeks, but it didn't matter. And your boy Kyle
Yeah,
McCord found a way to pull the game out Saturday night. And then the other one, hey, the team everybody has to watch in ACC's SMU,
yep,
because they don't play Miami, they don't play Clemson, and
yep,
their schedule's pretty favorable after beating Louisville this past weekend. So it's
yep.
setting up nice for them. I don't know who the landmine would be. I guess Pitt maybe. Um,
Yeah, Pitt,
but
like I
yeah, their
said, the
schedule.
Pitt Panthers are undefeated too. So like my boy Cade, like they've been played a little
Yeah,
bit
I think
tight in games.
they play this week. I think Pitt and SMU play this week.
Let's see. Nope, they got Stanford. SMU's got Stanford. They play in a couple weeks.
Oh, okay.
November
I
November
know it's coming up.
Yeah, they got Louis or SMU's playing at Stanford, at Duke, Pitt, Boston College, at Virginia, Cal. So yeah, those are all. I mean, I can see them getting slipped up in one of those
Yeah,
games.
can they hold up
Can you go? The big one? Well, here's the thing. Guess what? You get a bye this week, so you don't have to turn around and go to California this week. So that's
right?
another good on you. But
Yeah.
yeah, Pitt plays who's Pitt got the 5-0 Pitt Panthers. They got Cal. They got the Cal Bears. You're coming
Yeah.
off the heartfelt loss. They got to go to the East Coast. So then they got SMU or they got Syracuse, SMU, Virginia, but Pitt still got to play Clemson, Louisville, and BC. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, going up, the biggest thing for SMU is we get to see if they can handle the schedule. Whereas they're coming from a lower tier conference where they're probably better than all the teams in the conference. Now you're moving up to a bigger conference where every team, especially the ACC, that middle of the road pack, can you get in and week out and get those W's? That's going to be the biggest thing. I know people are going to be like, well, if they're better, they're better, but still week in and week out, you got to show up. And can they do that consistently? And it's hard for college kids to show up every week if we're seeing upsets like galore, like we've haven't seen in years. We haven't seen as many upsets like this in
no,
years, especially on one weekend. And then the next 2 weekends, this weekend and next weekend is going to be, hey, it's going to be getting thinned out pretty quick.
definitely so. And like I say, it's one of the things where you're getting the rubber meets the road, where you got some of these
Yep.
great matchups, and it all basically starts this weekend because you've got some big ones. We'll jump into the Gators and the Vols because that's the only team you guys are on the bye, and the Noles are on a bye. So the Gators are 16-point underdogs on the road at Tennessee, and I'm not feeling good about it. I guess I'm feeling a little better just to be like, hey, Tennessee, if the Gator D can travel and play a little bit like they did against UCF and maybe slow Sampson down just a bit, kind of how they did, make Nico have to make some throws. If some of those receivers are banged up, we'll see. But I'm not saying we don't. We got a puncher's chance. We're not like just like
Tennessee's front has just been playing. They've been playing really good this year, led by James Pierce at defensive end, and they play really good Saturday. So I just think, especially with a struggling Gator offense, I mean, all purposes, you guys have still been struggling on offense with the consistency, and I think the Tennessee defense still good enough, and it's in Knoxville. And they're going to be thinking about last year and all of that, not being able to beat the Gators, 2 or 3 times in the last 20, 25 years.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think everything's setting up for that game, and Tennessee's going to want to bounce back and win. I don't know if they'll win by 16 points, but I think I'm taking Tennessee to win the game. I can see the Gators covering the 16, though, but I am going to tease it up. I am going to tease it up.
You're going to tease it up, huh?
I'm going to tease it up to 22.
Barr said, "I'm taking some more points, baby. I'm taking some more points. I need some more. I need some more."
I mean, going into this game, not watching that offense this past weekend, unless something changes between now and then, and like you say, all the receivers are healthy and the offense is a full go. Why wouldn't you take the 22 points for the Gators?
Yeah, no, for sure.
I know I don't want to tease it down to 10.
Yeah, no, for sure. I would take more points for sure. I think the key, like I say, it's going to be Florida defensively. If they can make it a 19-14 game like Arkansas, that's where I don't know if you can live in those waters or not. But the more obviously you can hold that offense down, the better chance you got.
Yeah. And definitely Mertz. And when Mertz is in the game, he has to go down. They got to stretch the ball down the field.
That's what I'm saying. So he's got to take his shots in this game, which I hope he does. Yes, it's great that he's completing at a high percentage and only throwing 3 or 4 incompletions a game. But
who cares? Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't care if you're 19 and 22 for 170 yards. I need you to be 19 for 30 for 280. Let me see some shots downfield with some incompletions. So that's where I'm wondering. Does DJ get a little bit more in this game if he's hitting some balls downfield? I think Florida, like offensively, they've been fine in the last 2 games against Mississippi State and UCF. They've shown where they've been a little balanced. They've been able to run the ball. It'll be interesting to see what. I guess Webb had a little bit of a knee tweak, wasn't feeling great.
Yeah, I'm not comparing UCF and Mississippi State's defense to this Tennessee defense.
Hell no, not at all, not at all. But like I say, I think the question is, Arkansas, their offense had been really good, and obviously everything
Mm-hmm.
changed, and for the most part, Tennessee was shutting them down too. Uh, Arkansas obviously hit some big plays late to give them, a chance to win that game. So,
Mm-hmm.
like I say, I definitely don't. I'm not picking us to win the game at all, but I think we can hang around, and the more you hang around, the more you got a shot at the end. So, like I say, I definitely would pick the Vols just because coming off a loss, they're going to be wounded. Hell, they had aspirations of being in the playoffs. They were, national championship talk was already being on the horizon for Tennessee and how great they've looked. But I think did any of that get to them? They were, how Nico was the best quarterback in college football, and they got the best defense, and they got everything. They're like everything's setting up for Tennessee, and then you get popped in the mouth. And how do you respond? Because
Mm-hmm.
obviously the Gators should be the least of your worries. You need to be worrying about Bama and
No,
Texas and
no,
Ole Miss and all those
no.
teams.
You better worry about Florida. You can't worry about Bama and everybody else until you beat Florida. I know you're
We
trying to play
suck.
that
We suck.
psychological. You're
We
trying to play
suck.
the don't worry about us. Woe is
Don't worry
me.
about us.
Nope.
Don't worry about the
Nope. You
Gators.
worry.
Why?
Hey
Why?
man, you worry. I mean, I know this is all jokes and everybody, but if everybody hears me say that, you better worry about this week. That's just what if I'm a coach, that's what I'm telling my team. I'm not looking ahead. You got to focus on this week, regardless
Yeah.
of who you playing. And
You
if you
got Bama
focus
next.
on
You got Bama next week, man. You got Bama next week. You need to
hey,
worry about them.
hey, if they focus on Bama, I mean Florida might be able to
They
pull
better
one
start.
on you, but
That's what I'm saying. They better start worrying about Milrow, not Mertz.
yeah, hey, if they lose to Florida, they're definitely out of the playoff contention. So, but yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, to me, across the country, that's what every coach is telling their guys right now. Like, hey, we haven't done, we haven't done anything. We're all celebrating like
Yeah.
we've won the conference or we've won? It's one thing if you got 2, 3 losses, but you still win your
Yeah.
conference. If you
Yeah.
if you
No.
win your conference,
And
you're
that's
in.
yeah. That's the thing. I think you look at Oklahoma or you look at Tennessee's last two games, Oklahoma and Arkansas. They basically
Mm-hmm.
they didn't light it up at OU, and OU. I don't know. They're offensively they're struggling big time too as well. The
Mm-hmm.
three games where everybody fell in love was Chattanooga, Kent State, and NC State. So
Yeah, well, they put up what 70 points 70 points each in the first two, and then
exactly
the NC State game they
50,
pretty much
50 points.
dominated, even though
Yeah, 51-10 was that final, and so
yeah.
again, now like you said earlier in the pod, now you're playing some teams who actually have some equal footing, offensive talent, defensive talent, playmakers. Teams with competent, schemes, and now you're back to a little bit of equal footing reality. Hey, like yeah, you're good, but you still better come to play ball. So yeah,
And
like
hey,
I say,
Tennessee, you haven't done anything since 1998, so
exactly
let's not act like
that
let's not
too,
like
and
act like
and
we've
and
done
I guess
anything.
this is the case in point. What we said a little bit ago. If every team executes and plays the game plan well and does what they do, and then gets a few
Mm-hmm.
breaks, you get Vandy versus Bama. So every game is its own game. So we'll just like you said, one game at a time. Gators, let's go get one in Knoxville, baby. We own Knoxville. Let's go. We love the Tennessee River. We love the Vol Navy. But moving on to the big game this way, we'll go the biggest game. You want to go big game or you want to go rivalry? One of the best rivalry games. Which one do you want to just break down?
Let's save the biggest game of the weekend last.
All right. So we'll
But
go. We'll
we
go
can
Red
go. We
River.
can
We'll
go to
go. We'll
rivalry.
go. We'll go Red River. We'll go Red River. We'll go Red River. I think Texas puts a number on Oklahoma this year.
Traditionally in this game, you really don't see too many blowouts. I mean, we've seen a couple in the last couple years, but they usually be pretty tough just because it's a rivalry game and these kids are just showing up and the coaches they pull everything out of the bag, double passes,
Yeah.
fake punts, and all of that. But yeah, if Quinn plays and he plays up to par, he's been out a couple weeks, so I expect him to probably be a little rusty to start the game if he plays.
Mm.
But yeah, Texas, man, Texas is good. Oh, you can't figure out their offensive struggles for anything. They're just going through quarterbacks and they can't figure it out. Texas big.
Yeah, I like Texas big, even though it's a rivalry game. I just
Yeah.
think
But it wouldn't
Texas.
surprise me if somehow OU
No, I
does
think
some
they're gonna make
crazy stuff and
they'll make some plays and hang around, probably and do something, to keep it interesting. But I think I feel like Texas when I watched the first 6 games, even a couple weeks ago, I still felt like Texas was the best team that I've seen so far, and I feel that way now for sure after even watching Bama and Georgia. So we'll see as the season goes on, but I just feel like when you look at the way they're playing on defense, you look at the way who they have at quarterback. They can go from Quinn Ewers to Arch Manning to the running game has been not really missing a beat, even losing Baxter for the year
Yeah,
early.
with Blue.
Yeah,
Blue's still a serviceable running back. He's just been the
yeah,
backup for the last 3 starters for
yeah,
the most part. But he's
and
a guy that can catch the ball out of the backfield and create problems and mismatches out of the backfield as well. He's
yeah,
not the downhill runner like a Jonathan Brooks or like a Bijan. He's more of a scat back, but he can still run between tackles if needed.
definitely. And even Jarrett Gibson's been pretty good too as his
Mm-hmm.
counterpart. But Bond has been a great pickup, obviously. In free agency NIL world, and then their freshman is good too. Ryan Wingo. Nobody really talks about him as that wide
Mm-hmm.
receiver freshman class. He's been really good. So the receivers have been good for Arch and Quinn. So I just Texas right now is playing at a different level, and so we'll see if they can keep that up. I
Yeah.
like Texas, and we'll see what happens. The other game, obviously, that we talk about is the big shootout game that happens every year of Ole Miss and LSU. What do you think about this game? Because it's like you saw Ole Miss one week lose to Kentucky, and you're like, what the hell? Then the next week they're playing against Cocky, who's always good at home, and they just spanked South Carolina. And I
I
don't
I
know.
think I think Kentucky's just better on defense than people give him credit for. Mark
Yeah, I
Stoops
would
is
agree
always
with you.
going to come out with Mark Stoops always has a plan, and offensively that's a different story. But defensively, they're going to be sound. They're going to be disciplined. They're going to be gap sound. But in this game, I think Ole Miss wins. I think Ole Miss is going to beat LSU.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm with
I
you on that
still, I
one.
still, like you said, I still don't know what's going on in Baton Rouge. Brian Kelly and his family still can't figure it out. So I like Ole Miss in this one and Jackson Dart and the boys to pull it out.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my buddies at work who's a Carolina fan. I'm like, dude, what? I was like, what's going on? Cocktober, man, South Carolina just like I felt like the juice wasn't there. Like
Mm-hmm.
that. It wasn't like the LSU game. Then you have Beamer ball going for a fake punt. The next thing is 7-0. Then they get
Dumb.
a big,
That was
they get a
dumb.
big, they get a big stop. I
You
get
know
it.
why
That's
that was
that's
dumb? You know
that's his,
why?
that's
You
his
know why that play
mantra.
was dumb? Because the play before they ran the ball like, hey, we're gonna go for it on fourth down. So if you run the ball on third, it was like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8 on your side of the field, and you have a conservative play. It wasn't like Sellers running like a zone read or a read option. It was a straight run play, and even the announcers were like, "Hey, they're going for it on fourth down." They bring the punt team out, and then no one was shocked that they fake punt. And it's like, dude, just either punt or go for it. Like
Yeah,
you weren't catching anyone off guard with that one.
yeah. He contributed too as just like the juice wasn't in the building. He was thinking he would. I mean, obviously he said I feel like honestly like part of it is just that damn hurricane. The fans weren't like in it completely like
Mm-hmm.
LSU. Even the players like they don't have to deal with a lot of that stuff. But just when you're dealing with like off the field stuff like a hurricane, natural disaster where half
It's a
your
lot.
towns are without power and all that. So I can understand fans, like I say, because I felt that watching it. It just didn't feel like LSU a couple weeks ago, and it was the same noon kickoff. You're playing a top 10 team. It just wasn't there. And then on top of that, then your play. You go for that fake field goal or fake punt, and then next thing you know, you're down 14-0, 13-0, whatever it was early,
And it was over. It
and
was
then
over
and
after
they
that.
just it was just the other thing. South Carolina just couldn't do anything offensively.
No.
It just couldn't get out of their way. So credit to Ole Miss. They played obviously better than they did against Kentucky, but like I say, that was somebody did like they were like do this math. Kentucky beat the brakes, or South Carolina beat the brakes off Kentucky. Then you flip around,
Mm-hmm.
Ole Miss beats Kentucky, and then flip around now, Ole Miss beats Carolina like by a drum. So it's just like
Yeah.
that goes to show you of that what we just said a minute ago. Every game is its own game. Every game is different. The matchups are different. The style of the game is different. The crowd is different. The juice in the building is different. So you just gotta you better bring it that game or you're gonna lose. So
Yeah.
you know
100%.
it it is what it is. I guess before we'll talk about just other random games, the biggest game, in my opinion, of the weekend, obviously, is the new Big Ten matchup of Buckeye Brutus going on the road to Eugene, Oregon, baby. 2 versus 3. This is the matchup we both had for teams to make it to the Big Ten championship. This is 2 playoff teams we think potentially. This is a third time these teams can play, maybe, that type of deal, that they're that good. What's your read early on this one? Who you feeling? Who you liking? Do you like the road team or do you like the Ducks at home, dog?
I like the road team. I just can't put my finger on what's going on at Oregon. It's like you look at the numbers, and Dylan Gabriel is having a Graham Mertz type year. He looks efficient, but it still doesn't look good. It's
That's a
not
good point.
explosive. It's not explosive. I just can't put my finger on it. They just don't look right. It doesn't look like how it looked with Bo Nix the last 2 years. So I like Ohio State if they go in and their focus and who's going to stop Jeremiah Smith, and Ashton Genty had almost 200 yards against Oregon, or so I expect a lot of Travion Henderson and a lot of Quinshon Judkins in this game. I don't think the crowd will really be a factor. Um, Ohio State, we still don't know a lot about Ohio State because they haven't really played anyone, but I think they've just been consistent week in and week out, and it looks like a good move of so far with Chip Kelly being the OC to take that pressure off of Ryan Day.
Yeah.
But right now, I like Ohio State to cover that 3. I see them winning by 10 plus.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know what it is about Oregon. It goes to show that Bo Nix was really, really good when he got out there to
Mm-hmm.
Oregon after he made the move. Obviously, Bo's
Hell,
playing good right now.
it's showing in
I was
Denver
just
right
I
now.
was just about to say he's definitely, he's made leaps and bounds strides from like week 1, week 2 to now where he's playing really well for Denver right now. And so watching them last year, he did bring that moxie and differentness. I've never been a huge Dylan Gabriel fan. I don't know why. It's not. I don't hate on him. I just don't. I don't know. He's just okay to me. So even when they made the move to get him, I'm just like, all right, that's cool. He had a nice season last year at Oklahoma, but it wasn't. Again, it wasn't one of those things where I'm just like, man, Dylan Gabriel he's top flight.
And then what you think with those wide receivers he has
That
with Stewart, Johnson, and I'm missing the
yeah,
third guy.
Holden.
And both, yeah, you would think it would be more explosive, but it really hasn't been explosive. It's been consistent, and then you got the running back. I can't think of his. I lost his.
Jordan
Jordan
James.
James. Yeah, Jordan James still there.
He,
They're
he's
able to run.
he's having a
He's
nice
having
year.
a good year.
He's got 552 yards and 6 touchdowns. I mean, he's
Yeah, but
averaging
it's just
6. He's
not.
averaging 6 to carry. Yeah, the offense. It's I don't know. When Evan Stewart only has 182 yards receiving,
Mm-hmm,
and I feel like he's one of the best receivers in the country. And don't get me wrong.
mm-hmm.
I love Tez Johnson in the slot, and I like Trayshawn Holden. I like those are 3 legit receivers, and you still got your tight end Trace Ferguson. So it's just like I can't put my finger on, like you say, why the offense doesn't look smooth. It doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't look like Oregon did last year. Like things are hard. Things just don't. It's kind of like watching Trevor and the Jags. Sometimes it just the operation just doesn't look right. And so,
Yeah.
and here's the thing: this ain't the week to try to figure it out because I think Ohio State's defense is one of the best in the country. So
Mm-hmm.
if you can't stop Travion Henderson and Judkins and Jeremiah Smith and Abeka, you could be in for a long day. But I mean, offensively, Oregon just has to figure something out just so they can, compete to get back in the Big Ten, the Big Ten championship. But
Yeah.
I like Ohio State on the road. I just feel like they're not head and shoulders, but they're just playing. Like I said, they haven't played anybody, so I do want to see them play against a competent offense who can maybe stress them a little bit. Because obviously that's not going to be Iowa. That wasn't going to be your Purdue's of the world and all, the Ducks that they played. So they're definitely going to get challenged, which should make it interesting. Playing on the road at Eugene, they played in big environments. It's a West Coast thing. Maybe that has some sort of effect on them, but I don't know. But I like the Buckeyes in this one too. So, what's your other big circle games this week?
Well, I won't say big,
like?
just because we just went over probably 2 of the
the
bigger games.
What you're looking forward to, like a small appetizer or a small side piece.
Zona and BYU. I'm curious about this BYU team, and will they be the team to come out of the Big 12? Because right now they've just been they've been real physical and they've been beating up teams.
How about the Buffaloes?
Yeah. The Buffalo. Who do they play this week?
They got
Because they
K
just came
State.
off a bye.
They
Yeah,
got K
that's gonna be a
State.
good game. Yeah, that's gonna be a good game. Dion looks like he's kind of right at the ship, and they still got to be able to run the ball. And they still got to play defense. It's going to be interesting to see how they shut down Avery in the K State offense. Maybe with a bye week, they could work out on some things. But it's still, like I say, if you don't have 4 or 5 good DBs, just good. They don't have to be great to slow
Yeah,
down that Colorado offense. I mean, but the biggest thing is getting pressure on Shador and knocking him around to not give him time.
yeah.
That's a big game.
I like I say, going back to your game, Arizona's been disappointing, man. Like I know
I told you with Jed
it,
Fish leaving was going to be
yeah,
different.
yeah.
And
Obviously losing to Texas Tech last week. Just
yeah,
wasn't good. BYU definitely has been a surprise team. They've been a little bit of a
hmm
shocker team, and they've been playing really good ball. That's the other interesting part is they don't play Colorado this year, so
yeah,
they kind of miss each other. But even looking at Colorado's schedule, I'm like, it's totally changed my view. Like, damn, some of
no,
these
it's
games that
manageable. It's manageable.
yes, but
And
they got to get this one. They got to get this one. So this is not a look ahead thing. If you lose to
yeah,
K State, everything falls back. But if you beat K State,
yeah,
you look at it. You got like some Cincinnati's and some,
hmm
like
So
Oklahoma State doesn't look like they
no,
don't look very good this year. So Utah, if they can't have Cam Rising, they look like a totally different
yeah,
team. So
yeah,
that Big 12 is kind of wide open right now.
yeah. Another game, Penn State going to SC. Just
Yeah,
two blue bloods, and I guess in a sense, and can Drew Aller get it going, man? That offense still looks bad to
that's
me.
another one that. Yeah, I didn't even want to talk about this game. Obviously, you have to talk about this game, but it wasn't one that I was going to pinpoint. I knew we'd discuss
Yeah,
it because it's like basically um, USC's been such a disappointment now all of a sudden, in their last couple of weeks, and obviously Penn State is the better team. I
but
think Penn State wins this game. Yeah,
making that trip all the way to the Coliseum could be huge.
definitely going to be something.
I just think that with conference realignment and a lot of these coaches not knowing how to prepare on a short week, it's one thing when Penn State plays in the Rose Bowl, you have a month
Right.
to prepare for that. But when you
Yeah.
condense it down to, all right, when do we get out of here? He was just talking about the airport in at State College being they can't do the
Yeah.
transcontinental type
Yeah.
planes and they got to go to another city. And I mean, but people would be like, oh, James Franklin's whining and complaining, but that is a factor where you may have to
Mm-hmm.
leave earlier than what you should because you got to bus to another town to get on a bigger plane to get to the West Coast. And, do you add a day? Do you stick to your same schedule? Like, I mean, even with the Jags going to London, do they leave 2 days earlier because of this hurricane and this weather? We're not as impacted clearly as Tampa and the Southwest Florida region, but still, that's something the Jags had to think about. Do we get out of here 2 days early, or do we stick to our schedule and go on Thursday that we're used to, that we've been doing the last 2 years? And but that's just something all teams have to think about going to the West Coast, or the West Coast teams coming to the East Coast, and the West Coast teams coming to the East Coast. If you're playing a noon game, which is really a 9 a.m. game in
Yeah.
LA, or
Yeah.
your body clock is off. So that one, and then I'm curious about how does Vandy the next week playing against Kentucky. You had a huge program win, one of for the ages. Do you continue on and beat a Kentucky team in Kentucky?
Yeah. I'm curious to see that offense go against Mark Stoops' defense and
Mm-hmm.
how much did he that raise the eyebrow like, okay, this team's really good. We're gonna have to worry about them offensively, because obviously Kentucky's been a little struggle fest on offense themselves. So I like the matchup for this one too. It should be interesting. I want to see if can Vandy carry it over, or is there a big huge hangover win and then they kind of just don't play as well. And then Kentucky, steals the thunder of the big win against Bama. Definitely, I got my eye on that one for sure. But I think hopefully Vandy can keep it up because I like the story of Diego Pavia and the Vanderbilt Commodores this year.
Yeah.
They're fun,
Mm-hmm.
fun team to watch. It's a fun team to root for just because Vandy, hasn't had a season like this in forever.
Ever. Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. Also, hey, shout out to Army, Navy, and Indiana. 3 teams that I know Rutgers took one on the chin, but it looks like they were in a dogfight. They lost by a touchdown against Nebraska. Um,
Yeah.
But those three teams, man, like your scenario of back to back Army Navy game would be
Yeah.
kind of that would be so
Well,
weird.
you know what's even more weird. What I found out, the fact that if they play for the American, if they go undefeated or
Yeah,
just match up in that,
it's the day before the
the
playoff
selections.
selection. Yeah,
So one of them would already be in, and then you're playing them again the next week, where it doesn't even matter. It's a
yeah,
moot game.
yeah.
When would that ever be like this game, the Army Navy game? This one doesn't matter, and it's like, how do you even play that
Oh, it
game if
matters.
you're?
It still matters to those guys. It still
I get that.
matters
I get
to
that,
the
but like,
rest of the
how do you?
world. I agree
But,
with you, but to
but
them,
how do you manage that if you're going into the playoff? Like if you're Navy and you've already won the American, you're in the playoff now, and
you don't
then
want to
now
lose the
you want to.
Army.
Yeah,
You don't want to lose the
I
Army.
I get
It's
that.
kind of like how we are when we play the video game. You
No,
don't
I
want to
know.
be that guy with that last loss
No,
until the
I
next
get it.
time we play.
I get it. It's just it's going to be just a different thing for like I'm talking about like
Yeah,
managing your roster, having to play another game to where you want everybody healthy and all that
for
stuff, you know.
sure, for sure. No, I
But
agree, but I like I said, I just look at it like that. Like I say, the last time we played a video game, and it's like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I left with the loss, and I'm like, I
yeah,
want to play one more. I don't want to lose.
yeah. I've been
And
in the
like I said,
lab, buddy. I've
that
been in the lab.
rivalry, I bet. And yeah, that last yeah, especially with the tradition of singing last, you gotta think about that for a whole year.
Yeah,
And you gotta think about like I said, that tradition in that game is bigger than Florida, Georgia for those kids
yeah.
because a lot
No,
of
for
those
sure.
guys aren't playing football anymore.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
So, but yeah, but it would be interesting to see if those two teams went out, and then where does Indiana sit in the Big Ten when they play Penn State or Ohio State and Michigan? I don't really know their schedule.
They don't
Uh,
play. They don't have Ohio State. I know that. I think they play Michigan and Penn State. But again, those two teams are challenged offensively, especially Michigan. They're offensively they're
yeah,
challenged. And then,
hmm
like you said, we're going to find out. Like Drew Aller, definitely, he's been again off, just hasn't looked great. He's had a couple good games, but then they've also been in like major dogfights like every single week. Like UCLA is not a good team, and that game you should put them away. You know, going back to the Bowling Green game, you should be playing with Bowling Green. You shouldn't be playing with West Virginia. You should be if you're a top 10 team. But again, this is the new age of college football. You just got to find a way to win games. But this is where like I use my don't play with your food. Like you should be beating these teams, and
yeah.
we'll find out like again as the season goes on. But I definitely Indiana was kind of messing around with Northwestern. Like Indiana is better than Northwestern. They're more talented, and they were kind of messing around. But then next thing you know, that game's a one score game. Then it's 40-20. You're like,
Yeah.
damn, they just won by 3 scores.
Here's their last six. Their last six going to be tough. So I'm curious to see. By the way, Indiana and Miami, the only two teams that are bowl eligible currently.
There you go.
They got Nebraska next week. They got a bye, so they got
That'll be
Nebraska
tough.
next week.
That'll be tough.
They got UW, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, and Purdue. They easily
Okay,
can go
so
3-3, 3-3 in
yeah,
that last six. Because you got to figure
yeah,
they're probably going to beat Purdue. They're going to beat Michigan State. And where do they get that third win?
yeah. Because Washington is that on the road? You said.
No, it's at home. The next two
Okay,
are at
that's
home. They only
yeah. I
have
don't.
two road
Yeah,
games left at Michigan State and at Ohio State.
yeah. They're not going to beat Ohio State, and Nebraska game. I think it's going to be really tough, just because Nebraska. I think that should be a hell of a ball game, to be honest with you. So we'll see when they play, but like I can see them. The Washington game. Let's see how Washington is, because I really don't know about them yet either. They've been kind of schizo. They haven't played great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they beat obviously Michigan has been a disappointment. But after they won that game against USC, then they kind of everybody thought they wrote the ship back. But I think it's
I mean,
USC is just I don't know, man.
yeah. Well, then UW was favored over Michigan, so it was an upset just by the rankings, but it really wasn't an upset.
Yeah, it was going on the road. That whole deal with these West Coast now. This will be
Yep.
like I say, Penn State could USC win this game? Sure. Would I be as all surprised is if all of a
No.
sudden Miller Moss goes crazy on offense and then they beat Penn State? No, I wouldn't be surprised at all, because that now if all of a sudden Ohio or let's just say USC was undefeated right now and be like, man, USC's playing great ball, if they were to have to go to like Happy Valley and play in a whiteout game, I'd be like, "Yee, this could be a spot where
Yeah,
But
exactly.
that's the new age of this traveling and playing in these environments, and we'll have to just wait and see how it plays out. But
Yep.
all right, homie, that's another week of this Talking Ball podcast. I know we got to figure out what we're doing with this damn hurricane, work schedules, and all that BS. Like, hopefully we can keep power, because hell, we got no power. How the hell are we gonna watch these games, man? That's what I'm concerned about this weekend. Shit. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping somebody's got some power, because I'll be watching some games at your house. So hopefully power outages are sparse, but I have a feeling that a lot of people are going to be affected. Obviously, in the South Florida, West Florida region. Hopefully that's in Jacksonville.
Hopefully all those people just stay safe and get the hell out of there. And
for sure,
I saw a couple people last night that said they've been out of Tampa for like the last 2 days, and they're watching the house from a cam for the most part. So we'll see. Like I say, to our friends in the Southwest area and Central Florida, be safe.
Yeah, for sure. Hunker down, and like I say, we'll be back at it next week after some of these big games get shaken out this week, and we'll holler at you. Appreciate everybody. Hit the like, subscribe, hit the bell, holler at your boys. We'll catch you next week. Peace.
Later.